With Computex closing off, it is that time of the year at Tech City where we're going to go around and just look at all these Mini-ITX solutions that are just coming in. They're fresh, they're not yet released, and I'm very curious about. Starting with a place called Geometric Future, where they've got this little Model O design here that's 3 liters in size, and the front panel just, the side panel and the front panel just slides off. And then inside, you're greeted with 3 liters of space. Incredibly small. And then it's got a custom 200 watt small form factor power supply built in. And this is a design, I'm told, by FSP. And this comes included with the case for 110 USD. That's what they're aiming to get this thing out on the market for. Now, one thing about this case, on the little bottom here, you can take the feet off and orientate the build if you want it sitting horizontal or vertical. You can do that really quickly. So really nice design choices here, except for the fact that the power supply is covering up your PCIe slot. So first thing I thought of with this case was, why couldn't we just move the power supply down just a little bit and get that PCIe freed up? Especially with the that mini SFF Gigabyte RTX 5060 that we saw. Would have been a perfect fit for this thing, and you would have still had a really small PC. Anyhow, let's move on to some other booths here and check out all the Mini-ITX goodness at Computex 2025. Do you need to get Windows 10 or Windows 11 activated and don't want to spend $200 or some other exorbitant price? Well, if so, today's video sponsor VIP SCD Keys has you covered. For as little as $15 using the coupon code BFTYC, you can get Windows 10 activated, and for a little bit more you can get Windows 11 activated too. Links in the description below to find out more. Welcome back to Tech City. Now, speaking of that RTX 5060 that we were just talking about, this will fit in this Jonsbo NV10. Now, Jonsbo actually have a lot of cases on display here, but this one is 4.5 liters, and it's got a flex ATX support there down the bottom. Very thin power supply. Then besides that, you'll notice you can fit in that little low profile, small form factor RTX 5060. So this thing will end up being low profile CPU cooler height and a little build in general. Now, $55, that's a pretty fair price considering the build quality also feels amazing as well. Now, besides that, there's an 11-liter case that's an interesting design if you, I guess, need to make your own NAS. That's pretty small. This is the N1. Put all your own components inside, but then again, 5 SATA drive connector ports there, all pre-installed with that cooling fan in front. That's actually going to make for a neat NAS design. But speaking of that SSD small Mini-ITX case, we've got something even more impressive. This is probably the most impressive case I've seen thus far because it is a Mini-ITX case at 11 liters, but just look at the styling and the design detail that's gone into this. This is the Jonsbo T9. Now, supports GPUs up to 310 mil long, dual slot there, but also this is not the final design, I'm being told. Because right at the bottom here, if we come over the top and we just bring that in, right down in the middle there, they're actually going to channel that out so the power supply cables and other cables can be routed sort of right close to the bottom feet, like through the middle. And so that's just going to make cable management even more better, as well as having your build just looking a bit better too. Now, in terms of a price, I'm told it's around $100, probably be a little bit more, but it's coming out at the end of June, which makes it so that the T9, I think, is going to be a hit on the Mini-ITX scene just because of the design choices they've made here, as well as having a big clearance here. I believe you'll be able to fit in a decent-sized CPU cooler. So do let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of the T9 and so the cases you've seen thus far. Now, if you're going Mini-ITX, you probably want Mini-ITX cooling, and here's where they've got 2 air coolers here at Jonsbo, the HP400S and then also the HP600. Now, this is a 120mm fan. I like this one a lot more, but one thing I really doubt here is they're saying a 160 watt TDP on something this flimsy and small. Like, I really doubt this thing would even do like 40 watts properly. But yeah, something I had to call out on that. But they're saying this one here will do 210 watts in cooling as well, which, I mean, press X in comments if you doubt this. There'd probably be a lot of X's in the comments. So we have stumbled on a really weird situation here where this Mini-ITX case right here from Dark Flash was just hiding in the middle of nowhere. And I just said, what is this? And they said, well, it doesn't have a name. It's a complete prototype at this point in time. and they don't even know if they want to make it. And I said, you betcha people will want to see this being made. It just looks pretty cool. The inputs and outputs are also generous for Mini-ITX. The graphics card length looks great. The styling looks good. Do you want to see Dark Flash make something like this? Because I certainly do. You've got vertical mounting capabilities here with the feet, or you can mount it just horizontally like a regular Mini-ITX build, and it's pretty small. It's coming in with, I would guess, roughly that 10 to 11 liter size. So absolute win from Dark Flash, yet kind of surprised they were really just hiding this thing. Like, I'll show you where they were hiding it, like all the way back here behind a monitor, and it was just like sitting there. In the world of ITX, you're wondering, so who's up next? And this is where we've got a company called Sohu. And this case right here, really light and flimsy, and no GPU support. So it's pretty much like that Geometrics Future case we saw before, but I'm guessing it's going to come in at like a fifth of the price. The sad thing is there's just no name for this box right here. There's no display, and there's no one that wants to talk to us either. So here we are with a unique place, a little booth that we stumbled onto in the middle of nowhere in Computex, and they're called Studio. Here we go right here. This is a case that's like made of full alloy on the chassis with flex power supply support on the side here. Then down the bottom up to around 190 mil on the GPU with a low profile GPU support. So would fit that RTX 5060 that we were talking about before in it, and it comes in at about 11 liters in total in size. And then you've got a clearance there of about 8 centimeters for your CPU in terms of height. And then if we go over here, there's a little bit of a bigger design here. And this one's like, these are pretty expensive, by the way. They're not cheap. This one here is coming in at $220. This is the bigger version. You got a glass side panel here. These smaller versions are 180 USD a piece. But keep in mind that they are full, chunky aluminum metal there, all around. Like the whole chassis, everything is made of metal. This one here, obviously a lot bigger, but still Mini-ITX. And you can fit everything, even a 240mm radiator and fans up the top, as well as an SFX power supply on the side here. And then that's going to give you clearance for a massive 3-slot GPU up to 310 mil long, or so I'm told.
So we're now quickly going to move over to voiceover here, where I did manage to get some footage of more Mini-ITX cases. However, I didn't have enough time to record the voice work at that said day. Though what we're looking at here is the TR100 from Thermaltake, and this is their take at, I guess, a bigger ITX case in a variety of different colors. Now, this can fit up to a 280mm water cooler up the top of the build, and also you can then mount up to a 360mm graphics card in terms of length. Now, the case itself does take SFX power supplies. However, the total size of this unit is about 19 liters, and still needing a riser cable. For me personally, I'd like to see something around this size not needing a riser cable if possible. Now, in terms of availability, I believe these are already on the market, and they do have the option to add in the LED screens, 3.9-inch displays. The next case that we stumbled onto with the showroom floor just really didn't have that much information available. I was kind of shocked when I stumbled onto this, and I just couldn't find any information about it on the internet. And also when I asked the people at Maxsun, because this was actually on display at Maxsun booth, they said they didn't really know anything about the case. And when I looked on the brochure, it said it was a Mloong Nitrix. And it looks like it's a really cool design. It's got like this helmet at the front with a screen behind it to change your RGB colors. But then in terms of internals, looks like it fits up to roughly a 200mm 2-slot GPU. And then on the top, you've got the option to add cooling fans in. And inside there is kind of a shallow clearance there for the CPU cooler. But all up, it's a very small case, even with the additional add-ons of the helmet and things like that. I believe this case would come in at about maybe 11 or 12 liters. Also during Computex, you guys asked me on Twitter to check out small form factor power supplies, in particular flex power supplies, where the particular user who sent the request in was asking about the quietest flex power supplies available. And I did manage to go to Superflower, Great Wall, as well as Joe Mung, and also FSP. So I went into all their booths and looked high and low, and I think the best flex power supply that was on display was from Seasonic with their SSP series. This goes up to 650 watts. Now, in terms of silence on this flex power supply, I also did ask Seasonic if they had a fanless edition or what the lowest noise flex power supply would be, and they told me that the SSP series would be it, with what they call their smart and silent fan control. So out of all the power supplies I saw for flex, Seasonic was definitely a tier above everyone else, where I didn't see any of the other makers go anywhere above 500 watts, with Seasonic having that 650 watt flex power supply, winning by a clear margin.
So here we are now at the closing time of Computex at 5:30. And we've checked around all these different places, and there is a lack of ITX cases here. There's Be Quiet, there's Raid Max, there's Haven. And I mean, as for Haven, I don't think we're having any of this, guys. We want more ITX at Computex next year, but we're just surprised because there was like Lee and Lee behind us too, and Lee and Lee usually have some ITX stuff, but it was really ITX anemic this year, to the point where I've probably got to give the win to Jonsbo this time around, or even Dark Flash. I like those two ITX cases that we saw. They were really impressive for that real small form factor size. That about wraps up our Mini-ITX tour here for Computex 2025. If you guys enjoyed this one, then be sure to hit that like button. And also, if you have any questions or comments, be sure to drop them down below. But what I'm seeing in general with Computex this year was there's the regular enthusiast PC hardware stuff, but then there's just so much AI stuff, like and business-to-business server racks and things like that. But also, there's now just a lot of wholesale PC cases, and you're like seeing the same PC models everywhere all over the place. Anyhow, guys, we'll see you in the next tech video very soon. Thanks for tuning in to all this coverage. Peace out for now. Bye.